What does it mean to be a Napoleon Hill coach? A Napoleon Hill coach radiates a positive mental attitude. They expect success, not by chance, but by choice. A Napoleon Hill coach moves with purpose, knowing exactly where they are going. They act as if they are already the person they are becoming. A Napoleon Hill coach speaks with confidence, knowing that words shape destiny. They sharpen their mind, fuel their body, and walk into the day with unwavering focus. A Napoleon Hill coach treats everyone they encounter as the most important person in the world. They see opportunity where others see obstacles. They don't chase, they attract. A Napoleon Hill coach serves.
Well, good Wednesday afternoon. It's absolutely a beautiful day to be here. Welcome to the Coach's Corner of the Napoleon Hill Institute. My name is Amy Mosser. I am one of the division leaders, along with Cleona O'Hara, the founder of the Napoleon Hill Institute, of the women's division. We have a newly formed women's division with the Napoleon Hill Institute, and we are so excited to share everything with you. This is something I will bring up a couple of other ladies too in a moment, but this is something that has been a calling on so many of our hearts. And you know, it's amazing what happens when you have a desire and a dream in your heart and you journal about it and you see it in your mind and you see yourself speaking on stages or doing these live Zoom calls, knowing that there are women who are in the exact same place that you were or that you are, that are also praying for an opportunity to grow and to ascend and to become even a better version of themselves, to step into their other self, right? So I want to share just a little bit about myself. Like I mentioned, I am Amy Mosser. I am one of the founding members of Napoleon Hill, the Napoleon Hill Institute. I'm a realtor. I have been a lifelong entrepreneur since I was 22 years old. I always say I have been living on faith for now 30 years because I never knew as a 1099 employee where my next check was coming from. But I have lived on faith, and I know that God will never, ever let me down. And so I found the Napoleon Hill Institute in such a beautiful, miraculous way, sort of how my life has always gone. And while it's always not been painless or pain-free or struggle-free, I know everything is always happening for me. So a couple of years ago, I have always been blessed in my business. I have had the pleasure of starting a team of crazy successful realtors in Nebraska, women who have just found their wings and are doing amazing things, not only in the real estate community, but other places, wonderful mothers, wonderful wives. And so as I claimed my gold plate at the awards ceremony, and I was just exhausted. I was so grateful, but exhausted, right? So our team had done just record numbers that had never been done before. And here I was, making an incredible income, living in a gorgeous $2+ million home on a gorgeous golf course. And I thought, okay, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. I have always, I learned from Ed Milet, you're most powerfully positioned to help the person you once were. And so I have built many businesses to the top, a social selling business, a real estate business. And one of the things that has always been near and dear to me is helping to mentor and encourage and empower women to rise up, to get out of the back row, to use their voice and to truly walk in their greatness. And so myself, along with Linda Lovelace, who I'll be bringing up, and my sister Molly have started, along Cleona, the women's division of the Napoleon Hill Institute. You see, I knew that there were women like me that were high achievers, that had won all the awards, that had been with their company, their corporate business, maybe built businesses for 20+ years, had raised children, had been in marriages, and maybe even merged into the life that their parents wanted for them, maybe their spouse wanted for them, or other people. But I knew that there were women like me who still had more to give. I'm 52 years old and you ain't seen nothing yet. I am just getting started. And that is what fires me up, because when I think that we only have so many years on this earth, I know that there are women that want to empower and encourage other women to live out the dreams in their hearts. Recently, I drove past a cemetery on my way to show a home, and there was the green awning there, just the tent, 4 posts and the green awning, and there was a casket just sitting there. So the family had not yet arrived, but the casket was there. And it really, really shook me when a thought came to my mind. I thought, I wonder if that person who's in that casket died with a song in their soul or a dream in their heart. And you know what? Chances are they did. 95%. They always say the cemeteries are the richest places in the world, because that's where dreams are. That's where so hundreds of thousands, millions of dreams are. And it really lit a fire under me, because I know, as I've sat and visited and mentored and been able to do speaking engagements, things of that sort, there are women like me that are winning awards, that are doing wonderful things, that have just killed it, have knocked it out of the ballpark, have been wonderful mothers, but they really want to paint, perhaps. Art brings them joy. Perhaps they want to open a dog rescue. Maybe they want to write a book, or open their own boutique, or start another business. So that is one of the things we are so, so passionate about. If you have a dream in your heart, if you have a song in your soul, you need to take a look at the Napoleon Hill Institute. We are teaching the principles from Think and Grow Rich that Napoleon Hill wrote during the Great Depression. Principles that have withstood the test of time, that have created more millionaires than any other book. So we would love to have you walk alongside us as we share a little bit about what we are doing in the women's division. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on up Linda Lovelace and Molly Croker. Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. I have to say, I had to put my picture on the screen because she's kind of where it starts a bit. So as I was going on a walk, at the lovely golf course that I lived on, and I thought, there has got to be more. I looked online on Instagram and I found Cleona O'Hara, and I signed up for her self-discipline boot camp. It was a 6-week boot camp. I didn't tell anybody I did it. It was just a nudge. I think lots of us, particularly women, were just intuitive. And it was this intuition for me, God, that said, sign up for this course. And what I did is I began to do the inner work, to peel back the need to work for the applause of others, right? To peel back the limiting beliefs that I had been living with, that I still, even though I was crazy successful, that still held me back from truly walking in my greatness. And after 6 weeks of doing the self-discipline camp with Cleona, my sister said, there's something different about you. And that's when I told her what I was doing. So Molly, I'm going to let you share what you saw in me, and then in turn, Linda saw in us.
Well, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Molly Croker, and I'm so honored and grateful to be here with all of you. And I think nothing speaks more than, I always say I don't teach or I don't learn from somebody else. I learn from experience. And so what I saw, I don't teach from concept, I teach from experience. What I saw in Amy is just a different person when you're together all the time, shared a bed growing up. 20 months apart. We did a lot together. We even went to the same small liberal arts school in Nebraska. We were in the same sorority. I mean, everything. And so what I did notice is all of a sudden she had this quiet confidence, and that spoke volumes, because we are very positive, outgoing, extroverted people. But all of a sudden, it was just a quiet confidence. It's how she showed up. It's how she's always been incredibly magnetic and giving and generous. But it was just it was just the quiet demeanor in her. And I know that that is part of this inner work. And so it's something I didn't understand. I just thought whatever she's doing, I want to do. Is it some new red light therapy? Is it something, is it some new exercise class she's going to? And I knew she was just on Zoom quite a bit. That's all I knew. And so I knew I had to be a part of this. And poor Cleona probably thought, why is this woman stalking me? But I was relentless in, okay, when are you starting something? When are you starting something? Not knowing that she was having conversations with Don Green at the Napoleon Hill Foundation. That has been around since the 60s, but in creating this incredible institute where she was going to raise up with so many others, world-class coaches. And I knew that's what I was wanting. I wanted bigger conversations that would involve a global impact. And that's what she was doing. And so here I am, January 1, ready. Like, that's kind of how I operate. Like, I'm ready, January 1, let's go. And it was about mid-January when I heard back, and I knew I had to jump in and become one of the Napoleon Hill Foundation members, the founding members. And so I jumped right in, kind of like I do with a lot of things. And I'll just catch you up a little bit on who I am so you know where I am. So I am in Nebraska, and my first love is sports medicine, physical therapy. And that's what I did for 10 years. And I absolutely loved it. I grew up with a mom that ran marathons in the 70s, and that's not what women did back then. And I just loved the relationship she had with her physical therapist. So I knew I had to do that. And I loved that until I didn't. And I thought there's got to be something more out there. I'm working a ton of hours, and that's why we love this women's division. Is I was successful. It took a long time to get in and see me. People would have a wait list to get in, often several weeks. I was known as the running PT. I loved walking into church and knowing like I treated the athletes, and I was an athlete. So it was just a win-win. And I honestly thought I would probably go on to medical school. That's all I knew. And that's so much of what Napoleon Hill's principles teach you. Is it's almost like I needed to unknow the knowing. And I just thought this is the way to get ahead. It's all I was used to. It was a big paradigm shift for me to not experience that and do something else. But I thought I'm going to go to medical school. And I told my husband that with 2 small kids, and he traveled a ton, and he's so incredibly supportive because of course he said, if anybody can do it, you can. But I quickly pivoted and I have built a social selling company to the top 1% over the last nearly 20 years. And that was the one thing that I knew that I loved the most. Is I love mentoring, empowering, and speaking, not just motivation, because motivation's like a bath. You have to go home and do it all over again the next day. But I knew I wanted radical transformations for people. And that's what I found at the Napoleon Hill Institute. Is it not just radically transformed me, but I now have been able to teach others. And isn't that powerful when you can teach somebody else how to do what you've just done? And that to me, because that can go on. I could do that in physical therapy, right? I could help somebody run a race. I could help them maybe get back to work or whatever their goal was. But to radically transform someone's life in what they think, and I point here, into what they think, what their mind is processing, that they can radically transform thousands of others. It's not just for them, but it goes on. It's a ripple effect. And I know that that's something that women absolutely love and adore, right? We love to know that we're making an impact, not just an income. That's really important as well. And we want to show women all over the world how to do that, but also to make an impact. And so that's exactly what I have found at the Institute. That is what we are going on to do. Leading the women's division is just, like Amy said, get out of the back seat. For me, I'm just like, just empower yourself to be seen, right? To sit at the table, to go ahead and pull up a chair where you think you don't belong because you do. And I always say there's enough space at our table for everyone. And so that's what we really want to do. Is we want to create these massive tables. That's what I see in my head, these massive tables where anyone is welcome. We welcome you. Show up, be proud, and use your voice and get out of the back seat. It's time to stand up and show up with that quiet confidence, because there is nothing more attractive than that. And so because of that, my dear friend Linda Lovelace saw a massive change and wanted to know, what are these sisters up to?
I certainly did. I was actually, I'm Linda Lovelace. I've been with the Napoleon Hill Institute now for about a little over a year, and it's been such an incredible journey. But what I saw in these women, and because they're in my social networking business, I've known them for quite some time, and I was a little bit emotional because during that time I had a lot of loss going on. It was during the pandemic, and lost my mom to cancer, and then a year later lost my best friend, my sister. And I saw these two sisters doing something incredible, and that's what my sister and I talked about before she passed away. And so I reached out and said, okay, what are you girls up to? Because I see a significant difference in the energy and what you're doing. And so I actually was in Florida during the month of February to get out of the winter, and decided to fly back to Nebraska to the winter to be with these girls for a retreat that they did last year. And it changed my life in so many ways. And I met Cleona there. I ended up on the hot seat with Cleona, and it just really opened me up to understand the holy discontent that I was experiencing, but didn't really understand it to that degree. And, you know, I just turned 70. I know I call it my sensational, sassy 70s. I just stepped out of my sexy 60s, and I love helping women step into that superpower of that decade that they're entering. So fabulous 50s, sexy 60s, sassy 70s, elegant 80s, and naughty 90s. So I'm here to tell you, we are not done yet. We are just getting started, but it's all about what you decide. It's your attitude. And I remember my daughter, my best teacher, when I came home after taking care of my sister, my mom and my sister, because of my business, I was able to go and be with them during the time that, those important times, prepare for impact. And thank goodness my business allowed me to do that. I was able to be there for 3.5 months with my mom, and then again with my sister a year later. And so coming off of that, when I came home, I ended up getting COVID, long-term COVID. And it was it was a spiritual journey that took me into a very dark place. And I thought there was something wrong with me, that I was broken. And I remember my husband and I deciding to take a trip around Florida just to get away. And my daughter said to me when we got back from the trip, "Mom, tell me all about the trip. What did you experience? What did you see?" And I said, "Well, we didn't really experience much. We just drove around, the entire state and then came home." And she said to me, "Mom, stop being the passenger." And that hit me so hard, because I realized I'm not in the driver's seat. I'm just letting life happen. I felt like, it kind of shook me up for the wake up. It was an awakening that I needed. And so going through the journey of the Napoleon Hill Institute and really studying and doing the work that it takes, doing the self-discipline camp was the first thing. But what I saw, I jumped in with both feet. I didn't usually I look at things for quite some time and kind of indecisive about things and then talk myself out of it. But this time I jumped in with both feet. And I asked myself the question afterwards, Linda, why did you do that? Well, I was raised on Napoleon Hill and Earl Nightingale. My dad, being a pastor for 46 years, played the cassette tapes back in the day behind the scenes. And we, 7 of us kids, we would roll our eyes and say, Dad, why do we have to listen to these, this old man stuff? Well, what I didn't realize, what he was ingraining in me, that I am the person I am today because of what I listened to. So any negative talk that came up, my dad would always say, cancel, and change the thought process. I didn't realize that I would be teaching it here someday. And one of the most powerful events that happened is when my mom called me and asked me to come home because Dad was in the hospital. And this was in 2002. And I was able to fly from Kansas to California. And when I walked into the hospital, the first words that he said, because part of my journey was I entered the Mrs. Kansas pageant in my fabulous 50s, or actually my 40s, and competed against my daughter's age. So he was so proud of me for that accomplishment. And so the first thing he said to me when I walked into the hospital was, "Hello, Mrs. Kansas." And I said, "Well, Dad, your crown is so much bigger than mine will ever be because of the impact that you've made in so many people's lives." I mean, it was a revolving door of people coming through to share the impact that he made in their lives along the journey. And I remember him saying, he was squeezing my hand before he passed, and he said, "Linda, take them all to the top with you." He knew what we have a hold of here and that we're not done yet. And I realized, what legacy am I leaving? What legacy are we leaving? What are we doing? Because that was the end of his life. That was it. And he did make an impact, but what impact am I making? And so the whole message growing up through him was leave the place better than you found it. Leave people better than you found it. And that's been ingrained in me as well. And this is part of the women's division that we are all a part of, which I'm so thrilled to be in this place. I feel like this is God's like this big chess game that he's moving the chess pieces in different places. And here I am with these beautiful women ready to build an incredible women's division with the Napoleon Hill Institute that will change lives and impact lives for generations yet to come. I have 3 beautiful grandchildren and 1 great grandchild, and I want to leave an impact. And so this is all part of that legacy that we're leaving. So I'm just thrilled to be here with you.
Yes, and Linda, I love that you said, that impact and that legacy that we want to leave is truly where a lot of women are winding down right now. They're counting down the days to retirement. They're counting down, how can I make things, how can I get out of what I'm doing? We are just getting started. And here's the great thing, that the Napoleon Hill Institute, we are partnering with phenomenal, very smart, talented, successful entrepreneurs. David Meltzer, Cleona is very, very successful. We have some others coming on board too. So all of these incredible humans, men and women, we're just really passionate about the women's division, but that we're attracting to this community, it keeps us up at night because we are so excited about this. So our goal is to help others increase their income, but more importantly, their impact, right? I have a goal, and I know you ladies are on board and Cleona with me, of making 1 million women new millionaires. Because women, we circulate our money. We put our money back into the economy. We invest in our children's educations. We invest in real estate. We invest in the things that are important to us, right? To make this world a better place. And that is what we are passionate about. We know that money isn't everything, but it allows you to give back and leave a legacy and impact on this life when you're able to make the income that you deserve. And so we know that there's a lot of women, particularly I have a strong pull towards women. I've walked through a divorce and had to start all over again and have made it once and then made it again. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But I know that there's a lot of women that don't have financial literacy, that they don't know if anything were to happen, how to run their household, how to handle investments, what they would do if maybe they're not in the workforce or things of that sort. So we know that it is no coincidence that we have all come together along with so many from around the world to start this women's division. We will be doing in-person events. There's just so many wonderful things that we will be doing. And one of the things that I love is that, I have a passion for real estate and investing. My sister, she mentioned our mother ran in the 80s, right? She was 70s and 80s. She was running, she smoked her last cigarette and started running marathons. I mean, we're kind of from a family of driven women. But my sister, when she started the Napoleon Hill journey, she was training for a full Ironman. So she started her Napoleon Hill journey during that time. And I'd love to have you share with them, Molly, talk about mindset and persistence and desire and decision and all of the principles that Napoleon Hill writes about. Share that with us as far as how that all kind of merged together for you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sissy, because I heard her voice loud and clear as I crossed that finish line. And believe me, there's more than just one person in the stand. So I love that I heard this voice. I'll share it at the end. But yes, we were blessed enough to grow up with a mom that ran in the 70s. And I remember as a little girl, I'm 54 now, but at 9, the police brought my mom home. And from an early morning run, because you didn't have cell phones. You didn't want to call your friends at 5 a.m. and wake the whole family up on the rotary phone. And so she just kept running. She thought, well, I'm showed up. I'm just going to run. And so she did. And they were like, it's unsafe for women to be running in your town of 50,000 people in Nebraska, right? In Nebraska. So perhaps the paper boy is the only person out at that time, although many a dog bite because there were not invisible fences. So fast forward, I remember, and I taught about this today, is whatever follows I am is truth. Whatever follows I am is truth. And it even says in the Bible, right? I am who I say I am. And so I love teaching that because I decided in my early 30s, I am an athlete. So wherever you are in life, whatever's happened to you, I got cut from the volleyball team. Still to this day, if I hit a volleyball on my forearms, I almost want to pass out. I find it so painful. And I played tennis, but I was on the last court. I was more interested in how far I could hit the ball on the track and hit the boys on the track. So that is where I was. I wasn't a gifted athlete until I made a decision. And that's something Napoleon Hill teaches, right? We love feminizing these principles because I made a decision. I decided in my early 30s, I'm going to do a triathlon. I grew up swimming a little bit. It wasn't like I was great. I didn't even own a bike. I mean, I had a bike, but not one that you would ride in a race. And the greatest thing is, though, I had a ferocious mindset. I was persistent. I showed up. I was coming off a marathon. So I thought, I've got the running down. I'm just going to show up and do this race and practice some swimming and some biking. And so when I did, I got on the podium. So they award the top 3 with medals. And I remember in that moment, I remember it clearly, and I love that I have a picture of it, is I stood there and I'm holding my 11-month-old, my 3-year-olds at my knees. And I remember thinking, I am an athlete. Oh my gosh, I am an athlete. I just went and did something that nobody else could make me do. I chose to do that. And friends, that carried with me over these next 22 years. I knew, I would do an Ironman. And this is something that's so great with Napoleon Hill. It was persistence, right? It's not always comfortable. It's not always easy to show up for yourself. And you just use your own definition of Ironman. But I knew that I had to show up, whether it was raining, whether it was snowing, whether I had 2 doubleheader baseball games out of state. I showed up regardless. And there were times, right? It wasn't like I was only thinking about myself. There were times that I would get up at 3 a.m. and I would get out and get back before that next ball game. There was a time where my son did say, could you just be like the other moms and just ride to my game? Don't ride to my game, but actually ride in the car to my game. And so I heard him, right? I heard him. And I put my racing on the back burner. I did smaller races. I mean, I was all about putting my family first. But I loved that I wrote this goal. And this is something with Napoleon Hill, is we get into our definiteness of purpose. And that's what we want to help women with, right? There's so many women that are like, but I have a good life. I'm good. I'm okay. And that might be you. But I find when you really sit at the feet of women, they are willing to open up and share what really is that dream on their heart. Because like Amy said this weekend, to hear from an incredible attorney, she's got a high, stressful job, but she loves art. She's not happy practicing law, but oh my goodness, why would you give up a law degree and go do that? And I love that because I just did that. I just applied those same principles of decision, of having faith. I didn't know how. I mean, I knew it would take a lot of training, but here's the thing. I wrote the goal. I got in the feeling of the goal, but the goal didn't happen. It took me 14 years. I thought I would be 40. Actually, it took 12 years. I thought I would be 40 when I crossed that finish line, because that's when I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to do an Ironman then. But it took me until I was 52. And it didn't mean I changed the goal. It just meant I changed the date. I didn't give up on that vision, that dream. And talk about feeling. We talk so much about that feeling. Not only was I saying I am an athlete and I showed up as one over these last 22 years, but the feeling of the wish fulfilled, right? That's a Neville Goddard, the feeling of the wish fulfilled. I knew what it would sound like, what the carpet as you ran in on that Ironman, the people cheering in the stands, the way the pizza, for some reason, pizza after you run that far and work out, it took me 14 hours. So 14 hours of straight movement, swimming, biking, and running. I knew like all those senses. I used all those senses. I was in the feeling. If somebody would ask me about it, I would get emotional. And that's what we teach you, is get in the feeling of what it's like and become her. And so I did. I was meticulous with my nutrition, with my stretching, with taking care of myself. I mean, literally, I'm just a normal mom who had a team of people, physical therapists, massage therapists. I mean, I took this on as if I was finishing the race first. And that's really what this is all about, is we want to teach you how to run your race. It doesn't have to be Ironman. For me, mine was Ironman, but we all have an Ironman. We all have an Ironman because we all have a dream in our heart. And we want to teach you how to go after that and really find out what is your purpose, what is your passion, and what do you absolutely love to do. And that's why we're here just like my sister did, cheering in voices you may not even recognize, because you're so overcome with emotion and pride and just admiration that I heard her voice so loud as I crossed that finish line. And it was beyond better than what I even could imagine. It was so magical. And so I love it. I'm retired. I am saying that out loud. I am retired. I don't need to go do another one. I get to go do more things. And that's where we want to make an impact and lead with this women's division. And we're so excited to bring it to you. And that's why we had our event. So I don't know if Linda wants to share a little bit about what our event, the feeling of it, who was there, what did we teach, all those kinds of things.
Well, I would absolutely love to share it. It was an incredible event of women coming in search of finding community and their people. That's what we heard a lot in talking with people, that with the pandemic, I think so many have felt so isolated, and we've grown so much through that, I believe, and that now we're ready to get out, but what rooms do I want to show up in? And that's what we heard a lot as we were talking to so many, and the holy discontent of what is not working in my life and what am I searching for? There's a lot of searching for something more. They don't really know what it is, but again, it's almost when they see the energy or feel the energy in the room of so many of us that have been doing this work, so many are coming up and saying, well, I want what you girls are having. What are you up to? Because I want more of that. And so I saw women leaving different than they came, and more inspired, more just experiencing the hot seat coaching was huge, of just watching them transform, that were on the hot seat in that moment, that transformation. And I know when I was on the hot seat a year before that, I'm not the same person that I was. And a couple other coaches that were there shared the same thing, that the difference a year can make when you choose to show up and really dive into doing the work. And that's what it was, just so it just filled the soul. And I think that's what so many are looking for, is more of that spiritual connection, rather than, these are successful women, that have hit the pinnacle of their success. But why am I not happy? What is that holy discontent, that I'm not, we're fulfilled? What are the things? And so pulling out the words, what do you truly want? Freedom, peace of mind, fulfillment, love. Those are the things that people are really chasing, not so much the monetary, the money. Yes, that comes, especially when you are doing what you love to do. I always say, when you find what you love to do, the money is just going to flow. And how cool is that, to be in the flow and allow it to just be? And the abundance just comes. And again, Napoleon Hill teaches us so much about energy and all of that. So that room was filled with incredible energy, and we left better than we came.
Absolutely. That is so true. And Molly always says this on our call, and I have it right here on my computer. You mentioned the energy. Your thoughts cause your emotions. Your emotions control your vibration. Your vibration dictates your frequency, and your frequency determines what you attract. Those 4 sentences are so important. And that is exactly when you are Molly and I have a podcast called Meet Me in the Penthouse, because we have penthouse energy. That is truly, Linda, this is what we exude every single day. We live in gratitude. In fact, I want to take the time to invite you there's a QR code on our the bottom of our screen. We teach a self-discipline camp Monday through Friday. You are welcome to come with the QR code or reach out to one of us. But we start our day every morning with gratitude. Gratitude is the highest form. When you are in gratitude, fear can't exist. When you're saying, thank you, I'm so grateful, fear goes away. Scarcity goes away. You are in this beautiful, beautiful energy. And when you're basking in gratitude and this gorgeous energy exuding from you, which I know you can feel from all of us, guess what happens? You attract gorgeous energy. You attract beautiful, vibrant opportunities. And that is what we are so passionate about. So every morning at 5:30 in the morning, if we've piqued your curiosity, and we have it in all time zones, let me say that, across the world, 5:30 in the morning across the world, reach out to the Napoleon Hill Institute and we can plug you in your time zone. But start there. Start there. And if you're like Molly, Linda, and I, and you have that holy discontentment, you're crazy successful. You've been there, no matter where you're at. You're a single mom. There is a place for you at the table. You belong in any room that you walk into, including the Napoleon Hill room. And that is what we want. There is a place for you no matter where you are in your life. But if you have that holy discontentment, if you're kind of wondering what's more, then you need to reach out to the Institute. And we would love to share a little bit more with you. And you decide if it's the right time for you. My life has been changed because of a silly Instagram following and a course that I signed up, a Zoom course that I signed up with. I have friends all over the world. I have had the most incredible miracles happen. And this is just the beginning, including the women's division. And there's just nothing better than a community of women supporting one another, walking hand in hand. We'll carry you. Truly, we love you that much. We are so passionate about what we do. But you have to make the decision. We can't make that decision for you. You have to make the decision. You have to feel that holy discontentment. And then we would love to have you join us. I was going to say in the penthouse, but in the Napoleon Hill Institute and in the penthouse. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us. If you're watching the replay or if you're watching us live, please know it's no coincidence that you happened upon us. It truly is not. So act on that nudge, on that little intuition, that tug that you're feeling, and at least join us in the self-discipline camp. We would love to have you there, and reach out to us with any questions.
And Amy, I have a quick little thing that crossed my desk that I think is so appropriate to kind of end this with. Yes. And it's a French poet, philosopher, Julien Apollinaire. Not sure how to pronounce that quite right, but he says, "Come to the edge. We can't. We are afraid. Come to the edge. We can't. We will fall. Come to the edge." And they came, and he pushed them, and they flew. Come, come, let us fly together.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
We want to fly together with all of you.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Linda. Have an amazing afternoon, and thank you for joining us, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cleona O'Hara. I'm standing here at the Napoleon Hill Foundation, the headquarters, where the amazing Dawn Green, the CEO, invited us here this week. We've been here for a whole week going through Napoleon Hill's archives, his manuscripts, his original prints, and all of his great work. And I'm standing here really humble because I can now announce to you that I am now the CEO of the Napoleon Hill Institute, which is the world's first coaching division, where we're going to bring to you Napoleon Hill's teachings. We're going to help coach you. You're going to be part of something so magnificent. I'm so grateful myself, coming from Northern Ireland as an immigrant woman with no money. I grew up in poverty. My clothes came from the neighbors next door. I used to get excited when they would come over and bring their clothes to give to me. And I always had a dream. I had a dream one day that I would stand in America and become a wealthy woman and have business all over the world. And that dream has now become a reality. And it's become a reality because I applied the teachings and the principles of success that was laid out by the great Napoleon Hill. I applied them in my life. I believe in them. I teach them. I share them. Everything has changed in my life. And that's why I decided that I would go on a journey. And I made a decision that I'll spend the rest of my life sharing this with the next person I meet. I've become now not only a student of his material, but it is my duty that I am a steward, and I must pass this on to as many people as possible. So if you feel there's something missing in your life, that you want more happiness, more joy, more wealth, anything, you reach out to us, because we have trained, certified coaches, the best in the world. And let me tell you, I put my name and my honor down on the line. This will be the #1 personal development company in the world. And the reason why is because we are going to give the best service in the world from our heart. Each one of our coaches will be handpicked and trained and directed to help you. And if you feel that this is calling to you, you just fill out that form and someone from our team will get in touch with you. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side. I look forward to seeing you shine and grow and join our community. Thank you.